A few months after my 17th birthday, I found myself walking down the road from my parents' house in London with all my belongings in 6 plastic carrier bags. I looked behind me and I could see my mum and my dad walking along a few feet behind me. They were both in tears. I'd never seen my dad cry before, and I wasn't to see my mum for 27 years after that day. Hi, my name's Graham Frost. I'm a professional speaker who helps people to make better decisions. I call them heart-shaped decisions. Now, the first heart-shaped decision I'm conscious of making in my life was to leave home at the age of 17. Why would I do that? Why would I leave home, walk away from everything and everyone that I knew and go into the world on my own at the age of 17? Well, I was born into a very strict church. Everything was about following the rules. The rules were very, very simple and at the same time very, very complicated, because just about everything that I wanted to do as a young man I wasn't allowed to do. And by the way, if you were a young woman, it was pretty much the same too. So I had no radio, no television. There was no internet in those days. So that didn't come into it. Recorded music was banned. So I grew up in the era of the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, which arguably could be said to be two of the bands that changed music or even invented pop music. And I wasn't allowed to listen to that. And every time I asked why, it was because I said so. That was my dad's stock answer to everything. And because the church rules said that if you did all these things, so if you basically had what I saw as a very miserable life on earth, you would go to heaven when you died. And that really didn't cut it for me. So that's why I decided to leave my whole family and everyone that I knew and go off into the world on my own at the age of 17. And it started when I was much younger, but this is just a short talk, so hopefully one day I might get to speak to you face to face if we ever get back to normal, I'll tell you a bit more. But so I just went off into the world on my own, and I made some mistakes. In the first couple of years I went from having virtually my whole life control to having no control, and I fell into the company of some people who I probably shouldn't have been in company with, and found myself in a life of petty crime within about a year or so of leaving home. And eventually that path actually led me into prison, into a young offenders prison, and there I had a conversation with one of the officers who told me that I wasn't a criminal. No, I knew that I wasn't a criminal, but it was exciting what I had been doing. And he said to me, you've got an opportunity now to change your life and actually not go back to those ways. He said, I don't want to see you in here again. And fortunately, I listened to him, and I never went back to that lifestyle. I went out of prison and managed to get my life back on track with the help of some very good people, and never went back to that lifestyle at all. In fact, I got myself eventually a job on the railway, and had a partner who I was living with, and things were going well. And then when I was in my early 20s, I contracted testicular cancer. So that was another fight that I had to fight, and I did fight it because I'm a lot older than my 20s now, and I'm still here and still fighting and still not giving up. Even this year for me has been quite a challenging year. I'm sure it has for everyone that's watching this and everyone that you know, because we have not been prepared for what has happened to us in 2020 at all. And so it's a learning experience for all of us. So that's a little bit about my story. So I'd like to encourage you to think about the decisions you make. in your life, whether they be about your education, whether they be about what you actually want to do with your life. Now, I know, you might think it's actually hopeless, that there's nothing you can do, because we are in this place at the moment, and the human race has been in worse places than we are now, and we have to find a way of actually moving forward. And that's what I'd like to encourage you to do, because one of the things that, one of the decisions that I've always made with my heart is always to find a way to move forward. So I'd like to encourage you to think about how you can move forward in some small way as a result of listening to this short talk. And I wish you well, and I hope that our paths may cross, and I'm looking forward to hopefully working with you in the future to help you to move forward, to make some heart-shaped decisions, which I'll explain more on another occasion, and move forward. So thank you for listening, and I wish you all the very best.